Today we're having a look at Outbreak, a storm chasing sim that has you legging it around like a natter in your heap of junk car, trying to snap pictures of twisters whilst giving the weather boffins the lowdown on these monstrous twirly whirlies. You even get a nifty little weather radar to track it all down. It sounds like a right laugh, especially when you consider the online aspect. But is it worth the hefty $35 price tag for an early access game? Well, you know the drill, people. Put the kettle on, grab a cuppa, and let's tear this game a new arsehole in today's review. Where does one start with this disaster of a game? There's so much wrong here that my head's spinning faster than a bloody tornado. So let's tackle the $35 price tag for an early access game, shall we? Now, us lot of the Cockney Gamer channel, we love a good early access game. We slapped a perfect 10 on Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out, and Hades 2 got a 9 score while still being in early access. Take a gander at our backlog and you'll see we've given both love and stick to these types of games. The thing is, early access gives us a chance to muck about with fresh ideas, away from the AAA tripe shoveled out by the big studios. But, and this is crucial, when a developer's got their hand out for your cash, we've got to review it as critically as we would any other game. If they want your money, it's my job to be straight up about the state of the game right now, and whether it's worth your hard-earned wonga. If the game gets better, we'll do a re-review with an updated score, just like we did for Ready or Not. So it's downright disheartening then that they think it's okay to ask $35 for a game that looks like Joe Biden knocked it together in his sleep. First up, let's talk performance. It's bloody woeful. Now, I'm running a beast of a rig, but this game brings it to its knees. When you start getting close to a storm, your PC fans will spin up to full blast, like they're trying to replicate the chaos on screen, and the frames drop on my 4090 down to 15 frames per second or so. Using DLSS, you get all sorts of weird artifacts with motion blur on the wing mirrors, looking like you've taken a trip on LSD. Everything feels slow and choppy, and at random times you'll get massive lag spikes, like every bloke in the world decided to hit up Pornhub at once. Speaking of lag, I never once got onto any online play. The lag I'm speaking of was exclusively in single player, so chalk it up to first day blues, but it simply didn't work. So you're stuck as Billy No Mates until these issues get sorted. Now, it's rare I kick off a review moaning about performance without first explaining what you actually do in the game, but that's how bloody awful things are. The game itself, though, is a decent concept, like a dodgy geezer with a heart of gold, but it's missing a lot of gameplay elements here. So here's the gist. As you bumble about the massive map, you earn cash for reporting on developing storms, taking photos, or releasing probes. With that dosh, you can buy new cars and cosmetics. The game's best feature, though, is its weather radar. You get all sorts of data on precipitation, wind pressure points and whatnot. Now, the game doesn't give you much guidance on what any of it means other than a tutorial video telling you to look out for hooks in the weather systems and where high and low pressure meet. It's like giving a blind man a map and telling him to find the pub. If you're watching this review, chances are you've got a bit of a fascination with these weather systems and want to learn more. I'm hoping they dive deeper into this in future updates and really teach us non-storm chasers all the juicy details. Otherwise, we're left as clueless as a fish on a bicycle. As for the storm chasing part, I figured the weather was generated on the fly, so each playthrough would be a bit different, right? Well, upon starting a new game, I found the weather system to be a carbon copy of the game I played before. Very odd, and that begs the question, are they just presets, or did I just experience a very coincidental weather system? If they are presets, this game's going to get real old real fast. However, the clouds, whilst aren't the most amazing you've ever seen, do have a certain charm as they reflect what you see on your nerd gadget. My assumption then is that the weather systems they've created is murdering compute power on rigs, and it's simply not fit for purpose. As you drive through storms, you'll get rain, hail, dark black clouds, and there's motion in their volume. Clearly some clever mechanics are at play here then. However, they really need to add another mode and, dare I say, make things a bit smaller. In my first 100 minutes of playing, I didn't come across one bloody tornado. Now, I get the realism here, but if you miss one storm and want to traipse about over to the next one, that could be a bloody long drive. Speaking of which, you need to fill your car up with petrol, but I'll be damned if I know how that works, because when I tried, I suddenly died, presumably from the intake of fumes, and my game decided to restart itself. It's like they've turned a simple task into a bloody death trap. Gotta love the realism, eh? As for the graphics, well, I think the video you're seeing speaks for itself. It's bland as a stale biscuit, like it was drawn by Gareth Southgate himself. Everything's bare bones here, flat, empty and devoid of movement. Clearly the bloke who made this is a smart storm chaser, but maybe he should have splashed out and some proper artists to make this game a bit more pleasing on the eye. You'll see plenty of popping lightning that looks like God himself is having a seizure, and when it rains it's like the Hock tour girl herself is spitting all over the road with big globs of her good stuff. Speaking of rain, it has no impact on road conditions as you bomb it down the freeway. Your car sticks to the surface that Lewis Hamilton could only dream of, defying all logic, and when you get out your car, rain doesn't fall on it like you would expect. Drive in the rain, who gives a toss, because visibility is fine without your wipers on. Lighting is also poor, with hardly anything casting proper shadows, and assets are low fidelity. Mirrors do not have reflections of the world around them, the steering wheel barely moves when you turn, and there ain't a soul on the road to contend with. Crash your car and you'll be treated to some fancy costume party blood splattering on your screen. It's incredible to me then that the storms are supposed to offer the most challenge and risk when driving, but there's nothing here. Graphically, the game reflects this total lack of adventure as tornadoes land nonchalantly in the distance. And the sound, well, it's just as piss poor as the rest. I usually try to give a minute or two to this section, but it's so devoid of anything meaningful that it seems a waste of your internet bandwidth to bang on about it. Storms sound alright, sure, but the cars, they sound like absolute crap, like a mosquito got stuck in your bonnet and is having a right old tantrum. The sound effects are cheaply made, and overall it's just very basic, with a janky back alley feel, like it was all cobbled together by some dodgy geezer looking to make a quick buck. Outbreak is an early access game, yes, but the amount of issues it's got makes it feel almost insurmountable. It's like the game engine needs a total rewrite with a completely new artistic direction. Honestly, this would have been better off as a mod for a game like American Truck Simulator, where the assets are already there and it just needed this guy's know-how. I was extra disappointed because other big YouTubers like Jeff Favigano, I'm sure I butchered his last name there, he's made plenty of early access hype videos, playthroughs, all the rest of it on this particular game, but seeing his avatar in the tutorial with his little voice does make me somewhat suspicious of the great reception that he's brought to it. So let this smaller YouTuber just tell you the truth, and that is that right now, in its current state, this game is an absolute cluster that leaves a stinging feeling in your pocket after spending $35. I hate shitting on other people's work, especially early access games, but sometimes you just gotta call it like it is. If this were $10, we might be having a different conversation. As it is, Outbreak is just $5 cheaper than Elden Ring's Erdtree, $5 more than early access mega hit Bodycam. In fact, it releases in Steam's Summer Sale, where it really highlights the type of value that is on offer here. Until next time, my lovelies, Reggie out.